Welcome to the second episode of the Wanderwell podcast, where we discuss the highs and lows of life and the intricate spaces in between. I'm your host, Shaka Smith, and in that vein, we'll be talking to inspirational individuals about their own path through life's complexities. Today, we're talking about someone who's been doing this in the public eye for over 20 years. From Broadway to Nickelodeon, to Fear the Walking Dead, Insecure, to winning a Grammy, and to now his debut studio album, Electric Dusk. Let's welcome Leon Thomas. Right there.
All right. What's up, mate?
Man, it's been a minute.
It actually has.
Yeah. The hairs, this we both
Come on, man. You know, shout out to the pandemic. Had to start these locks.
Right? Yeah, last time we talked was 2018. We were both so young and full of hope. We had no idea the global pandemic was coming, but it came. But last we spoke, you had been running 2 miles a day. You were very regimented. You had like your social media time. Yeah, I think you're still on the honey bun and barbecue chips. What has changed for you and your outlook since the pandemic? I know career-wise, you were working on some new music at the time too. How did that shift your outlook?
Well, to be honest, I mean, I still feel like having a really good schedule is important. But I think I've really been flowing with life a little bit more recently. I think it's important to obviously, you know, have things scheduled out, but you know, I like to manage my expectations, and music is definitely like a big ebb and flow. And you know, I've been working on some amazing projects, but I've been mostly focused on my own, and it's been a blessing working with Capitol Records, Ty Dolla $ign. You know, just kind of like taking things as they come. I feel like being a producer right now is like very similar to being an on-call doctor. Like sometimes I'll be out like at a dinner, they're like, Beyonce needs you now. I'm like, oh shit. So like sometimes trying to plan shit out is just not really always the best. I like to kind of just flow and just let it happen.
Yeah, do you have like any rituals? Because you wear so many hats, you know, and you're working on your own music, but you're working collaborating with other people. Do you have any rituals where you take time out? Is it meditation? What is it that kind of keeps you grounded in that way?
Yeah, I mean, I love to meditate, you know. I think I've been doing nighttime meditations recently. I feel like that wind down, that hour and a half to just like figure out what I'm doing. I'm big on affirmations right now too. That's like a huge thing within my process. You know, it's kind of funny thinking that like saying I will be something or I am something can be as powerful as it actually is, but it works.
Yeah.
So.
And I can't believe you have the studio album, your first studio album debut coming out, but you've had success from such a young age. So at 13, you signed your first deal. What has that looked like for you, or has your definition of success changed over time and fulfillment?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't really feel like my definition of success has changed too much over the years. I just think, you know, I'm at a place right now where I'm really like getting into the power of gratitude, journaling more, like really just taking time to just be thankful for the opportunity to be alive and to chase what I'm doing. I mean, you know, I got a lot of friends back home who are very talented musicians who don't have the same opportunities that I do have. So I feel like it's not changing my idea of what success is, it's just being more grateful for, you know, just the opportunity to even chase any of this shit, period.
And I like you said journaling. You know, cause I've been listening to Breaking Point, Crash and Burn. And I'm like, but is Leon okay? You know, Leon's going through some things right now. Are you journaling, or is the music that outlet that helps you go through those personal experiences?
Well, I feel like, you know, being from the acting space, I think drama is important. You know, I think like if I was just singing a bunch of records about everything's okay and shit's peachy, like I feel like people would listen, but would they really feel me? Would they have a point to relate to? And I think, you know, I'm one of those people who's like a student of humanity. So I'm just watching it. I'm reading through Twitter each and every day. I'm just seeing what people are talking about. And I think a lot of that plays into kind of what I write about for myself as well. Just to see if I can like take that Twitter thread and like turn that into a song that people can actually like, you know, kind of fuck around with it and feel.
Yeah, and Crash and Burn, you say you're a liability. You talk about that relationship being a liability. When you look at relationships, professional and personal, what's that moment where it looks like a liability, and how do you handle it?
Well, it's just time, you know. I think sometimes you get into situations, you know, really like falling into the honeymoon phase, but I think there's definitely that that period of time when you start really looking at this person as like a possibility, as your potential forever. And I think they become that liability when they're there and you know this isn't forever. When you know this is temporary. And I think Crash and Burn was definitely just an open letter coming from the perspective of a lot of my homies that I've seen in relationships with women who are a little bit younger, maybe 23, 24, who don't really know what they want yet, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I think wasted time never feels good.
Yeah, you say you're 23 and still acting your age, but you've probably been like, what, 50 since you're 13. Growing the industry as a child, as a child who has that adult persona, has to take on the responsibilities and be a businessman at a young age. How has that affected your personal and professional relationships?
Well, my personal relationships, I feel like it's definitely a growing game. I've tried to date older women. It doesn't really always vibe with me because I'm still a cool kid. I like to go out, I like to vibe. But then sometimes if you deal with somebody in their early 20s, you might deal with inexperience with being able to kind of deal with, being at a cocktail event, and having to kind of speak to executives and kind of code switch in proper ways when the time is right. So I don't know, I'm just trying to find that happy medium. But I think there's no perfect way to get this done. And I'm just being, precious with myself. It's all good. It's gonna work out.
Absolutely. And so, what is that the theme of Electric Dusk, or what are the broader themes that people should get from Electric Dusk?
I think it's just a collection of anecdotes of my single history within Los Angeles. It's also really like a reflection of my love of film. While doing the album, I was watching films on silent and taking different perspectives. I was watching a lot of early 2000s love stories like Love Jones, Brown Sugar, and stuff like that. Just trying to find different ways to pair up some of those scenes with relatable stories that maybe even I went through, and kind of turn it into great records.
Yes. And speaking of Love Jones, that was your first with Ty Dolla.
Yeah.
So how did that collaboration come about? And it seems like a perfect melding. Did you feel that too?
Absolutely. At first, Ty Dolla was trying to tape the song. He wanted it for his album. I was like, no, sir. So we ended up doing it together. And that's really my dog. He's been so supportive. I was gonna put out the whole album independently, but he had a situation with Motown, and for me, I'm a big R&B fan. So Marvin Gaye, Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, all products of Motown at some point. So it just felt like a really cool opportunity to kind of create a legacy with what I was doing in the world of R&B, and it's been a really beautiful process. And now we transferred my deal over to Capitol Records, and it's been lit, man. It's been cool.
That's nice. And I like that you had the presence of mind to say, no, this is my record, I want to do something with this. How do you find that power of no, especially when you're presented with an opportunity?
I feel like songs are almost like, well, I don't want to make this metaphor. I think it's really easy to get attached to songs. I try not to, but there's certain records that that are just a part of your DNA, that are really just a piece of you. And I think it's important as an artist to, especially when you're also a songwriter, to kind of make that differentiation between songs that are for everybody, that are just up for sale, and records that are just a piece of you. And Love Jones was definitely one of those records. So I had to be able to own that one day.
Yeah, and you collaborated with obviously Ty, Ariana Grande, so many artists. Have you had any breakthrough moments through a collaboration that surprised you?
Yeah. Working with Drake was crazy. That was nuts. For me, growing up, in high school, he was definitely a part of my playlist, going to school, whatever else. So to have the opportunity to even really send stuff to him, knowing that he would be hearing it, was cool enough. And then he actually started, recording just some of the track ideas. And I don't know, I'm just a huge fan. He flew me out to Bahamas during the pandemic to work on Certified Lover Boy. So I got a chance to kick it with him. My boy lives like a Saudi prince. That was one of those breakthrough moments where I was like, all right, this shit gonna be alright, cause the pandemic was looking dark. I ain't
Yeah,
gonna hold
right,
you,
no,
man. Like,
yeah.
shit was weird. It got weird fast. So that was definitely a really bright moment. And during that time, I was doing like, I know it sounds weird, but I was doing like a lot of yoga, a lot of meditation. I kept speaking a lot of those things into existence. I was like about to do this really big publishing deal, and you know, that just felt like, you know, a gift from God to say, all right, yeah, you're on the right path. Keep on.
Did you get any advice from Drake or any nuggets for the future of your career?
You know what? If anything, it was just a lot of moments where we were really speaking about the similarities. It was like, you know, for him, he came from, you know, doing Degrassi, and people always kind of doubted him or like brought that up, and he was kind of just talking to me about how I felt about being on Nickelodeon, and people consistently bringing that up, even after I win Grammys and do feature films or whatever else. You know, it's like it's one of those moments that I think, you know, everybody has to kind of hurdle over, especially when you've been in this industry as long as both of us have. But we definitely had a difference in opinion on it. For me, I'm just like, it's a blessing. You know, I was a kid in Brooklyn trying to do my thing, and I got, you know, swooped up by a crazy corporation that really helped me chase my dreams a real way. So I don't really mind it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But it was cool kind of having that moment of like just human to human, you know?
And something you both accomplished was holding on to that money and using it for, you know, better things as you got older.
Yeah.
A lot of young actors don't do that.
Oh yeah.
Where did that financial literacy come from? And then do you have advice for people in that situation when they move to LA and they come into some money? How do they handle it?
Well, I mean, don't get it twisted. I made plenty of mistakes, you know. But I think, you know, I just had the power of just keeping going, you know, like just to really get up every time I fell.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the financial literacy came from like reading. My dad, at a certain point, especially when I was younger, he was like, yeah, the fiction books are cool. He knew I really liked to read, but he would just give me a lot of nonfiction books to tap into. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think Grow Rich, like shit like that was just a part of like what I was reading in, you know, my late teen years. So a lot of that kind of played into my love for passive income and just like trying to make plays, you know.
And you invested back into yourself. You went out and got equipment.
Yeah, went out and got equipment. Tried to invest in some of my mom's businesses too. You know, but I really took the time to really invest in something that I knew wouldn't pay off like right then, but it was, you know, it was a long play, and it worked out.
Yeah, you had some foresight.
Absolutely.
And I know you say you had a grandfather who was an opera singer in the 60s.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
John Anthony.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, he's a G. He's dope.
Yeah.
My grandfather's amazing. He's definitely like a big part of just my whole mindset within this industry. You know, I remember some of our conversations around 13 years old, of just like really understanding the power of the word next, and not getting too happy or content with what you're doing right now, but like always having a game plan for what the next 2 years might look like. Whether it works out or not is, you know, up to God, but having that plan is a real blessing.
Yeah. And what will success look like for you for this album, Dusk?
I just think it's really about building an active community. So we've been doing everything that we can to just kind of like tap in, from viral TikToks to, you know, doing more podcasts and interviews, just to let people know like who I really am. But I think, you know, that active community is everything. And I don't know if I can announce this officially, but I got some tours coming up in the fall.
Yes.
And, you know, in the winter.
Exclusive.
So I'm just excited to just, you know, jump out and just really touch people through my music and just have an opportunity to kick it and, you know, meet and greets and things like that, just to really build it out.
Yeah, and of course you can't neglect the acting. We know that you do that all the time too.
The way this writer should like be set up.
Well,
I don't know.
yeah.
I have to hold it down, sing
Yeah.
some more songs.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, man. I'm down to get back to acting for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's really fun. I got a lot of friends who have been like actors for years and now producing and winning Emmys and all types of dope shit. So I'm excited to like work with my friends. I really want to be behind the scenes as much as I'm like in front of the scenes in the world of film and television too. So I can write the scripts and yeah. So we'll see what happens.
So yeah. So what does the next 5 years look like for you with your music and your acting?
Well, for me, I'm slowly, brick by brick, building a beautiful bridge between both worlds. And I think, we've got existing bridges, like, the bridge that 50 Cent has built, that gives Method Man and Mary J. Blige an opportunity to not only tour with the amazing hits that they have, but also, have people fall in love with their characters, on shows like Power. But I kind of want to create that in the kind of A24 realm of film and television, just a little bit more cinematic, But I definitely want to kind of build a similar bridge and see if I can, take a lot of the relationships I'm building in music, take it back over with me and vice versa.
Yeah, I think you've done that already in such a positive way by staying grounded. What has kept you grounded throughout this whole crazy process?
I don't know. I think, for me, spirituality is a big thing. I'm a big believer in God. I think, praying and talking to family, truly, I feel like love has been a big part of what's been able to kind of keep me moving forward. And, the passion that I have for this, it doesn't come from a place of greed. It comes from a place of like really feeling like I'm transcending when I'm working on music, feel like I'm transcending when I really nail that take on set. So I think just kind of focusing on the love aspect of it, and even the love for my family, and wanting to be able to support them as I get older and as they get older, has definitely been like a driving force that has forced me to stay grounded.
Yeah, and that passion you talk about, that your passion is on public display, especially in music, and it can get scrutinized. How do you balance that passion with the public scrutiny that is going to come?
Man, fuck 'em. I'm just doing it, man. At this point in the game, man, it is what it is. You don't like the hit I did for myself, you can listen to the one I did for somebody else. I'm just doing me. It's funny, like with that record, Love Jones, I pitch my vocals down, I'm doing all this extra shit, and people are like, you'll see in the comments, people who aren't used to like what's next or what's to come in music, who maybe not understand like my futuristic perspective when it comes to engineering, it might turn them off, but bro, I'm gonna just do me. I think the way that I think is usually about 2 years ahead, 3 years ahead. So, I think one of the biggest things I've been taking back from my meditations are, 100% of the world is never gonna understand 100% of me. So I think knowing that has been a really beautiful gift from God. Because it can be really tough to just try to be loved by everybody in the world, but it's just genuinely not possible.
Yeah, especially growing up in the public eye with social media emerging as that was happening.
Yeah.
So did you just already start off not reading the comments, or did you have to train yourself not to, or?
I still read the comments. Let me be honest. I don't know, man. I mean, honestly, it's been an amazing process to just have love throughout my journey. I don't really get a lot of hate or anything like that. I think early on, for me, the first time realizing, I was growing up, not first time realizing, but just another example of it was just being on live streams and the KKK coming in and talking crazy about me being black, and it's just an interesting thing, just kind of seeing how far we've come, but also how stagnant we've been as a community, as a human race. So I think the internet is always just a reflection of things we can do better. So I try my best not to really take it too personal. It just a lot of people just hiding behind keyboards, projecting. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's a healthy way to look at it. But I think for so many people, they don't know how to do that or to get there. Yeah, so just sort of, do you have advice for people that don't know how to get there?
Just keep going. It'll get easier, I think I got a lot of friends who, they sat down with the Beyoncés and the Katy Perrys, and they all said the same thing. Just don't let it get to you. Build your walls if you can. There's a reason a lot of artists don't do interviews or aren't as open, and it's not because they don't love their fans or want to connect with human beings. It's because human beings don't always treat the things that they love the best, and they can be very abusive verbally, especially, and I respect people who build those boundaries. But for now, I'm good. You know, I just kind of take it as it comes.
Yeah, I think you had a strong foundation because you moved out here with your family, right, when you were 16?
Yeah.
Yeah, just explain how important that has been in your career and having that family support.
It's been both amazing and hard at times, you know, because I think you want to always give back to the people that support you. But at a certain point, you know, as you grow, like there's periods where you have to save and you have to do certain things. So that's been a really tough point. But I think just having, you know, people to talk to, and, you know, to, you know, go to on holidays and to just kind of build with has been a beautiful thing. And my family has been so supportive throughout this entire journey. And, you know, I'm working as hard as I can to continue to support them as well.
Yeah. And so when you look back at the journey, and even particularly on the songs that are coming up that have been released, when you reflect back, what have you learned from these relationships?
I feel like my read on human beings could be a little bit better. I think I like to see the best in people. But I think looking back at a lot of my records, you know, I try to empower women, black women specifically, as much as I can. And I think I'm going to continue to do that. You know, I think writing love songs in this time period of it being a taste toxic, you know, is really important. You know, we need that juxtaposition.
And you say you see the best in people, and you have that line, ironic, bad vibes, but you burn sage.
Yeah.
Which one of my favorite lines, because a lot of times people give you that sort of holistic,
yeah, they give you the whole like vibe of being whole, but I mean, I think everybody's going through something, and there's always things that we can work on. You know, shout out to my co-writer Busy Crook. That was the line that he came up with, and that boy be going through it. I ain't gonna lie, my dog be going through it. So sometimes we'll be working on lyrics. I'm like, man, for real, let's go. But yeah. Shout out to Busy Crook. I mean, like for me, I feel like my love for hip hop and my love for R&B is definitely being showcased in the way that I approach songwriting. I think it's really important to have that influence of like just kind of intricate bars in today's society. Because I think, you know, with the rise of platforms like Rap Genius and just, you know, being able to look at each and every lyric on Spotify and Apple Music, I think it's important to tell stories in ways that aren't just very generic. You gotta find a way to kind of build like a clever attitude towards everything.
It gets specific. It gets real specific.
Yeah, real specific. You know, detail oriented.
And then what you do vocally, with the way you kind of change up your vocals, where did that creativity and inspiration come from, and what is it exactly that you're doing?
Well, that's a trade secret. But I will say, you know, listening to James Blake and like listening to a lot of alternative music, Bonnie Bear. I don't know, just like coming from a place of like always wanting to kind of stand out and try new things and kind of feel like a mad scientist when I'm working on my stuff. That kind of became my calling card as a producer. You know, I don't have like a producer tag like Muscle on the Beat, you know. So for me, like you know, if you listen to SZA's new album, like you'll hear my vocal on Snooze. Like the first thing you'll hear is like me just kind of vibing out, stream of consciousness, just like flowing. And I think that's really cool to have a calling card that kind of comes from how I engineer my vocals. And yeah, that's been just like my imprint on modern day music in the last couple of years. It's been cool to see other people try it as well.
Yeah, real cool signature style.
Yeah.
And with SZA, that song, it kind of the lyrics have come to you from like internationally and made their way to SZA.
No. I see, SZA wrote the hell out of that song.
Yeah.
I produced it with my boy Chris Riddick Times and BLK, and the legendary Babyface was also in the room. He was working with SZA after he won a Lifetime Achievement Grammy Award, and called us in to vibe with SZA. Because I was one of the first people that played him some of SZA's stuff, like way back. And we were just in a room. She had started writing to another track, and we were just in another room, kind of cooking up something. She was going to the restroom and heard what we were cooking up and was like, "Oh my God, what's that?" So she comes in the room, she starts kind of freestyling, and I'm like, "Let's bounce it out." And sent it to her engineer in my other room. And, you know, the rest was history. She came back with a beautiful song. And Snooze to this day is like one of my favorite records that I've been a part of.
Magical collaboration.
Yeah, just a magical collaboration for real.
Wow. So what should listeners kind of just take away from the whole vibe of the album, that one theme that they should kind of take away from it?
I think mostly they should really take time to reflect on how the songs make them feel. You know, I really want them to pick certain bars and if they can, try to relate some of the things that they're going through. I mean, I think I talk a lot about the turmoil of being in something that's beautiful but just not quite right. But towards the end, we get to records that really explain what it feels like to actually see that potential forever in somebody. And, you know, I just really hope that people are able to at least pick up and feel where my heart has been, and really like take a look at the reflection of my soul and, you know, hopefully be happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we wrap up, I want to get a few questions from the audience.
That's cool.
So a few questions.
I have to. First and foremost, you're the
Let's get that.
Just kidding. Sorry, baby.
Okay, so we're now taking questions from Mr. Thomas.
Clearly, I was excited. Don't judge me, y'all. Love you. Have loved you since Victorious, and I hate to bring it up, but I'm going to because I grew up with it. You've done so many records. You've done, you know, mixtapes and things of that nature. If you could pick 3 records that haven't really gotten the love that you think it should have gotten, which ones would you re-record and release? Because Forever was my shit.
Yeah, thank you. There's a song called Blessing that I did on my last project, Genesis. I thought was really dope. Weirdly Enough Forever, I thought was really cool too. That's another one I would love to re-record and just, you know, put out, see what people think. And then there was a song on this mixtape I did called Rivers. It was like my first time attacking like a sex record, but I did it in a poetic way, you know. And I definitely want to reapproach that because that was over somebody else's copyright, so I had to release it as a mixtape. So I want to reproduce the song and, you know, see what happens.
I feel like it's loud
For the
just for the back. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So I've known Leon for a little bit from the Dorks, from just like ages ago, right? And so one of the first experiences I had with Leon, we were in the studio one time with my ex, and he was playing records, and I remember just being so excited to hear him kind of be excited about making music because I had only known him from Nickelodeon. One of the questions I wanted to ask you, bro, is that since transitioning more from an executive side, I work at a label myself, and I'm an artist. How do you feel like? Do you feel like at some point, do you ever feel like you want to start your own label, your own stuff? I know you have the stuff with the Rascals as publicity, but I feel like you, Jesse Boykins, some of the people that you've known for a while have like curated a certain community. And when you talk about community, that reminds me of like when we were the Dorks and we used to go out, kick it, and do the stuff we used to do. And we have like $10 in our pocket. You know, like reaching out to some of those younger people who don't have those opportunities, and now that you have a platform, is that something you plan to do, or is that something you're ever going to do?
Yeah, I mean, it really feels like a labor of love for my late 30s. I think for me, the trickle-down effect is extremely important, and I think the relationships that I have with the big 3 over Universal, Warner, and Sony are beautiful as they stand today. But I'd really love to just have a little bit more flexibility within the corporate structure, really get to know everybody in business administration a little bit better so we can shake down them checks when I really need them. And, you know, I've just seen so many people start imprints and labels and sign a bunch of amazingly talented folks without necessarily having a TikTok hit, and they just get met with this glass ceiling. It's really hard to break through. So I think for me, it's just like having that trickle down effect, and I think hits cure all of that. So I'm just chasing as many hits as possible so I can really, you know, get shit done right.
Any other questions? I have a question. there's any artist that you have not worked with yet, who would you like to work with?
Well, Beyonce. I'm really trying to figure out working out a song with Beyonce. I don't know. I feel like it's a rite of passage. It's almost like being an actor from New York and not doing Law and Order. Like you got to do a song with Beyonce if you really are that guy. So I wanna get one done for the next project. And I've been talking with the people and sending in stuff. So let's see.
We're all manifesting for it now.
Yeah, come on, y'all. Let's say one big prayer.
Any more questions? I got a few more. We'll wrap it up. But that business side, how has that impeded the creative side, and how have you balanced that?
Well, I mean, it's really dope. I mean, right now I have my own publishing company, and I've been grooming a bunch of different producers. I'm looking forward to signing at some point. And I don't know. I mean, I think reading a lot has been very helpful for me, and the experience of being signed to majors before, and now being in this position, I definitely, pay attention to numbers and do what I can to really create viral moments and momentum around what I'm doing creatively. I think it's easy to kind of get lost in the love of this, but it is a business, so I'm doing everything I can to just, turn that flame.
So in many ways, the business is almost part of the creativity too.
It's a huge part, yeah.
And so in that sort of sense, what does it mean for you to wander well through life, whether it's personal relationships or professional relationships?
Well, I think for me, it's just about, feeding a lot of the relationships that I've already started and continue to just support the people that have been supporting me with as much energy and momentum as I can. I think, a lot of people who are my friends, consider me to be a very supportive person, so I try to shout out everybody around me, because I think, it's one thing to win alone, but it's a way better feeling to win with your team, to win with people that are around you also climbing and trying to get somewhere. So I think supporting anything my homies are doing, including stuff like this, is really important to me. And yeah, that's generally what my journey is going to be about.
I appreciate you so much. Again, this is the second time. We did Fit Club back in the day. Got you back out here, man. I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you, man.
So we announced a little bit the tour. What else can we announce that's coming up for you?
Well, I got an album coming up really soon this summer. Can't say the exact date right now, but yeah, it's coming up this summer, and I'm really excited about it. I got some amazing features dropping too. Some collaborations with people I'm sure all of y'all know. So just be on the lookout for that. And yeah, we're going to continue to drop content around what we have going on.
Electric Dusk coming soon.
Sure.
You can find Leon Thomas everywhere at Leon Thomas. Yeah. And thank you guys for watching Wonderwell Podcast. We'll be back with another episode quite soon.
What's up?